Hey guys, it's Stephen Rolden,
And I'm Felicia.
and we're gonna be reviewing a movie for you guys. You know, me and Felicia don't really do this a lot, but it's something I want to get into, and I always feel a lot more comfortable with somebody to bounce ideas and thoughts off of, and you know, who better than your best friend?
We went to see Star Wars last night. We went to see the Han Solo movie.
So it's not. Is it really? Can it really be called a Star Wars movie? Because it's a Star Wars story. So it's not part of the big Star Wars thing.
I don't know. I mean, for like an outsider who's not super involved with
Okay.
like for somebody who hasn't always seen and doesn't really always know like the right order of the movies, I would say like, hey,
that's a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, it's a Star Wars movie. It goes with It's like, you know, some of the familiar characters and like the backstory of people that you grew up watching.
That makes sense. Okay, I get it. Okay, so it was the Solo, the Star Wars story. Basically, it goes. It's the story about Han Solo before he helped Luke Skywalker save the galaxy or whatever. So this is the story before then, and I don't know what. We're gonna do this without spoilers at first. So no spoilers. We're gonna try our hardest not to spoil anything for the movie. And we'll do that on the second half. But right now, it's spoilers. No spoilers. How did you feel about the movie?
Well, I felt like, okay, there was a lot of parts where I was sitting on the edge of my seat, and I feel like the people in the movie theater behind me were very, like, disprivileged to have chosen to sit beside me or behind me. Like, I feel like I drive people crazy in the movie theaters because, like, something jumps out, I'm screaming.
Yeah, so
I'm like, ah!
So my tactic on watching the movies, I'm very stoic, and I like to just soak everything in. I show no emotion. I don't get scared during jump scares. I'm just watching the movie to retain as much information as I can. Felicia, she's in the moment. When it's a slow part, I can tell it's a slow part. 'Cause she seems to get a little bored, but when there's action, she's like, oh, what's gonna happen next? So it's exciting. I enjoy watching movies with people who actually react, and I love watching movies with Felicia because she wears her emotions on her sleeve when she's watching a movie, and that excites me because knowing that the movie is causing a reaction with somebody. So there were a lot of moments in the movie that were just like, oh man, how are they going to get out of that situation? Which is exciting.
Yeah, it was like over and over and over again. It was like one close call after another. They open up the movie with, can I just say, Han Solo as like a teenager. What was her name? It was like, was it Rita, Cora, Corinne? I mean, you remember her face, but her name, it just wasn't, I don't know, it's just not sticking. And we just saw it last
Kira!
So, Rita, Kira.
So yeah, it basically kind of goes through the story of Han Solo's life before his major events in the...
They open up the movie, and they're teenagers, and he's trying to escape, like, this slum slavery where they're indebted to, like, this dark swamp monster.
Because Felicia doesn't know how to review a movie without saying spoilers.
Well, how are you supposed to review it if you can't talk about it?
You can, but you gotta right now you gotta talk about like the emotions. Like, it was a good movie. Okay, what were your thoughts? Was it a good movie or not?
I thought it was good, but I'm trying to tell you, like, that why, like, I'm on the edge of my seat. They open up a movie, and they're kids, and they're trying to, like, escape because they stole something. And he, like, tries to, like, turn the car and get it through, like, this alleyway. And the car gets stuck. It doesn't work.
Don't tell details. You're telling details.
You should have already seen it.
No.
Yes.
No. The second half of this show is when we tell you spoilers and our thoughts and really details. But right now, we're just talking about the story. In general, it's a Star Wars movie, and it felt like I had a conversation with some of my friends, and they always say like the original Star Wars when they first came out were these big blockbuster movies. You went there for entertainment, and this one was purely entertaining. I didn't need any of the Jedi stuff in it to make it exciting. It was just very, very entertaining, explosive action. It was exciting the whole way through. I was excited to see what the next move was, and the movie I felt had like 3 different stories in it. Like, it went from one story to another because they kept introducing new characters throughout the
that's
movie,
true.
which was exciting. It's what I love about what Disney is doing with the Star Wars series is they're fleshing out the universe that George Lucas has created. They're adding more to it. Not the Jedi stuff. I'm more interested in how their universe works, and this movie did a really good job of showing like the outskirts of it, of like how the galaxy really runs, and showed a little bit more about the crime syndicates that live within the Star Wars universe.
That was something that I also thought was very interesting, because it's like they show you how the people on various planets, they're just scraping by. And we saw a little bit of that when Luke Skywalker was just a boy, how he did like the street racing, and his mom was a slave.
That's Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah, okay.
That's Anakin Skywalker in The Phantom Menace.
Yeah, okay, because she goes, "What's your name?" Anakin. But we saw a little bit of that, but that was really the only movie where I remember seeing a little bit about like the poverty and like the slum life. This movie digs in to I guess explore a little bit about how these people have to like scrape by, and how they become survivors, where it's like, yeah, well, I gotta do what I gotta do, even if it might be wrong. It's right because I'm not, I've got to get out of this situation.
Yeah, so it did introduce many things, and it fleshed out the universe, and I really enjoyed that. It's like Star Wars is this awesome thing, and you're feeding me a little bit more lore about it. It's awesome. It's exciting. And it seemed like they went with a lot of different themes. Like, I feel like the Star Wars Order was always like these knights. Well, the Star Wars knights. They were always like knights in shining armor, saving the day and everything. But this went down to like a path of kind of like a Western style movie. Like, where the lone dude joins a crew, and then there's heists and all this exciting stuff going on, and it made it really fun. All those little aspects of it.
It did have a little bit more of a Western feel, and there was definitely more use of guns. Like, the movie, we didn't see a lightsaber.
At all. No lightsaber.
Lightsabers. There's none.
Me, I'm not huge. Like, we're no official authorities on the Star Wars universe. We don't know that much. We're still learning as we go, and we're fans. We can honestly say we're fans of the Star Wars series.
Actually, like, our second date was going to see Star Wars.
Yeah, we started our relationship on the Force Awakens.
Yes.
So it's funny when people talk about the old the series, like before we rebooted it. I'm kind of a fan of the newer stuff just because it's visually more impressive and stuff like that. Not to take anything away from the old stuff, but the new stuff is just a little bit more exciting. It's a time when I'm growing up seeing this stuff, and that's awesome. And I'm never gonna get mad at anybody saying, "Oh, I don't like any of these new Star Wars. I like the old stuff." It's like, yeah, that's because you grew up with it, but now it's my turn to grow up with this stuff and get introduced to this universe, and it's exciting growing up with that. And one day, when we have kids, we're probably gonna show them these movies, and they're gonna be like, "No, I like the new ones better." Like, no,
because all the graphics and yeah.
But then, I mean, right now I feel like the graphics can't get any better. Like, the only thing that they can probably do is make everything uber realistic. But even then, like right now, it's like I feel like it's at the peak of like
the pinnacle of what it could be.
Yeah. But hey, who knows? Maybe I'll be surprised in a few years.
I mean, I'm sure like 40 years ago they thought like, oh, we have telephone lines and
stuff like that.
We've got typewriters, in like 1945. Like, this is the best that's ever going to be, and we just keep going like more and more and more. So
yeah, the Ben Solo movie, or the Solo movie, the Star Wars story, I would say go watch it. Definitely go watch it in theaters. It's a movie that was made for theaters, where you'll probably beat yourself on the head if you miss out.
It is action-packed, okay? Like, can I spoil?
No, not yet. So,
about a monster?
No. So the only movie that I have ever felt the same way about, or similar about, is the Mad Max movies. I was thankful enough to go see it in theaters, and this is a movie I'm glad I saw in theaters too, because it was perfect. It was a blockbuster movie. I enjoyed it. It was thrilling. It was exciting. If you haven't seen it, go out and see it so that way you can see this second part of the video, because obviously Felicia really wants to get into the spoiler. So take it away, Felicia.
Okay.
Oh, there's so much. She's speechless now.
Okay, so there's like this huge monster. Okay, they're like gonna get sucked into this like fire wormhole thing, and it's gonna like eat their ship. And they get lost in space, and and at the same time they're trying to like evade the Republic. Is that what it's called?
I think
the Republic is the bad guys. And then the rebellion.
Empire.
Yeah, they're
Empire.
okay. They're trying to evade the Empire. They're trying to like bring this stuff that they stole back to like the place they have to deliver it to, and they don't want to get caught, obviously, because the guy that they stole it from,
Felicia,
okay,
Felicia.
cut.
No, keep going. They've seen it. If they're at this point, they've seen the movie. They know what part you're talking about. And I think what Felicia's trying to get
the
at...
monster pops out, okay, out of like the darkness. You just see like this big like eye, and I'm like, ah! In the movie theater, I was like,
Felicia was freaking out during that whole moment.
Oh my god, I can't. You have like 100 eyeballs. I cannot do this.
It was an exciting moment, and I loved it. The fact that they were like, Han Solo was so like, we're gonna get out of this because I have luck on our side, which I think in his life luck played a huge role on it.
Yeah,
and
he was a gambler.
That
like,
keychain.
Everything he does is super risky. Like, he doesn't know if he's gonna come out on top, but he's like,
he holds it with confidence.
What the heck, it's worth a shot. Like, I'm gonna try it.
That's Han Solo. That's his character, and I really did like that. I was worried.
He is ballsy, really ballsy.
With the character they chose to play Han Solo, because the way I remember Han Solo, he's a rough and tough guy, and I felt like this dude with the voice, he just seemed a little bit more soft-hearted, just a little bit more nicer, and I was like, nah, I don't remember Han Solo being like that. But as we progress through the movie, I can see how he roughened up, and that he didn't start out that way, but he had to because of the life he lived. And it was good to see that change and what life slammed him with, and he was so lucky for all these coincidences happening, him being Chewbacca and everything.
Can I just say that like ticked me off, okay? Like, the cage thing, like the underneath, it was like the sewer. And if you guys have ever seen like videos of like farm animals like living like on like factory farms or like mass animal production sites, and like how they live in their own feces, that was kind of what that, reminded me of. It made me think of that, like, this poor Wookiee, okay? He's a Wookiee, right?
Yeah.
Okay, he's like living in his own feces, and they're trying to feed him like obviously raw human flesh, and they're not feeding him properly. And he's the beast. He's not a person. He doesn't have feelings. He's just this beast, this item, and they can just throw unwanted people in there to feed him.
Yeah, they labeled Chewbacca as a beast in the beginning of the movie.
Like,
it
made me mad.
It showed the Empire as this evil thing even back then, like when they started, which is crazy that people were joining the Empire to help fight it. But then there was that quote Han Solo said. He's like, what was it? Because he was like saying we have to push all these invaders. No, it wasn't invaders. It was the hostiles. He says we got to get rid of all these hostiles. Or no, was it hostiles?
He was like, what's our objective, officer? And the guy was like, to put an end to the hostiles and to bring peace and unity to the planet. And he was we're the hostiles. We're the invaders.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think he used invaders or something like that, because he turned it around and said, well, we're actually the ones doing that to them.
It's like, you got it backwards, dude. Like, they're not doing anything to you.
Yeah. But anyway, that whole scene with the with Chewbacca and everything being introduced, the theme and the similarities that had to like World War I or II, with trench warfare, that was awesome to see. I loved how they made it seem like that was the type of war they were fighting.
It was very, very like reminiscent.
Muddy,
like
dirty.
It definitely like made you think of like like the trenches in World War II. Like, what was that called? That one trench. Remember that movie we were watching? Another movie where they had like
Wonder Woman had that.
Yeah, yeah. And what did they call the trenches? It was like no man's land.
The between the two trenches,
yeah.
between the enemy and the good guys, the area in the middle was so contested that both sides were firing into it, so no one could survive there. And
they're at an impasse.
Were they at trenches?
But it made you think of that, how it was raining, and like just how they are hiding down in a trench, like where it's all dug out, and then they've got like some of the gear and stuff, and they show you scenes where there's stuff being fired, and there's like shots raining down, and it just makes you think of that. So I really liked how they incorporated some of that.
Yeah, like they drew ideas from our own past into that, and that was awesome to see. And then the whole fact that amongst all that, there was the smugglers, the thieves, the band of thieves with what were their names? Han's new dude that he followed. What was his name? Beckett. That's right, Beckett. So Beckett and his crew. It was funny that they were
Beckett's a wiener. Okay, let me just say, like, what a total d-bag.
No, I don't think he. I like Beckett's character because he stayed true to the thing. He was like, don't trust anybody. This is the life we live. I want to say that would be Han if he didn't find like people to trust. Like that would be who Han would become if he didn't trust anybody. And at the beginning of the movie, like he didn't trust anybody, but then he meets Chewbacca and he's like, well, I'm going to use you to get out of the situation. But Chewbacca sticks with him throughout the whole thing. Even when Chewbacca had a chance to leave him and go with his own people, he was like, no, I owe this dude my life.
I don't know. I guess like true loyalty is something that is really an endearing quality to me, and the fact that he had these loyalties that were constantly wavering, like the wind, and you wonder like if his partner had survived and she hadn't been in a corner when they were stealing a cargo crate. Would he have remained loyal to her? Would her loyalties had flipped? Were they really loyal to each other? I mean, these are things that you think about. Like, was she a partner of convenience? And with how he acted in the end, it's just like, I want to say that even as somebody that was like this lifelong mate, his loyalties would have still wavered. But who knows? Like, maybe it's like, how Kira and oh my god, brain fart. Kira and Han, like, even though she chose like a different path, like she chose to, like, in the end she did kind of pick the evil side. She had worked so hard to build this life and she went back to that. But even that, she didn't forget, like, my childhood friend, and I'm going to spare him in his life and help him along the way, because that was something that was really important when I was younger.
Well,
so even though like her loyalties were flexible, she still had like some loyalty to do something good.
Yeah, that's true. But I think the reason, because Han's only reason for moving forward in the movie was to go back and save Kira.
Like that was his only goal.
That was his motive. So from the get-go, his motive was like kind of a noble one, where he wanted to be the good guy. He wanted to be the knight in shining armor, even though he had to do bad things to do that. But his ultimate goal was to save the woman. Okay, so the battery just cut out. But anyway, I was talking about how Han wanted to be the knight in shining armor to save that was his motive in the movie. But Kira has this whole other thing going on in her life where she's we don't know what happened, but she obviously started taking the dark side and preferred it at the end when we all noticed her make that decision, which was kind of a surprise to me. I thought she was going to do something a little different, but the fact that she was like, nah, this is my opportunity to get on top. I guess in her life she felt like maybe Han wasn't going to come back, and it's me that I got to look out for.
I think like it was mostly security. Like, she's had to do some things she's not proud of. She's very invested in this life that she's built, and she served years and years of servitude under this guy who probably wasn't very appropriate with her. Like, in the movie we see scenes where he's just very like, he's all over her. He's like, let me put my hand on your leg and let me hold you this far away from my face. And that was something that I noticed and it's like, what is she gonna do?
So I think the dark side's got a hold of her now, and
she's very invested. And we remember, like, you know, as a kid, maybe she wasn't always fed. And in the very beginning scene, they talk about, like, hey, I got enough to buy some food or something. You overhear people before you meet Kira and Han. There's like some other like nobody characters, and they're talking about how they're gonna get something to eat. And so I keep in mind that, you know, maybe she wasn't always fed, and she didn't always, you know, have clothes to wear that weren't rags, and we see her covered in dirt in the beginning of the movie. So she knows what it's like to be hungry and dirty and maybe not have a clean place to sleep, or, you know, whatever, have her basic needs met. And if you've ever been hungry, I think that's probably something that's always in the back of your mind. You're always thinking about that, you know.
You just like to go really deep into it.
Well, analysis.
Relax on that. Okay. So, let's go to a lighter note.
Well, I think that's why she went back to the dark side. I think you know, that she was like, hey, I'm stable right now. I've got a way to, I'm taken care of.
Yeah. You went deep into it, though. So, on a lighter note, let's talk about the characters. Actually, let's get this one out of the way. Speaking of Kira joining the dark side, we know that she joined the dark side because guess who shows up? Big spoiler. If you haven't seen it, you better cover your ears. Darth Maul.
He looks like Satan, okay? When he took off his cloak, I was like, eh!
Yeah, I could tell
who
it was.
Freaked. I was like...
I was very happy that they used the same actor from before. But the only thing that threw it off is, like, he's gotten older and his face has aged, and I could tell. And I'm like, no, the Darth Maul I remember had like this smooth, young, thin face. And now he's old, but this is in the past, so what? Do they Benjamin Button it? Maybe that's what they do. I don't know. I have to read into their lore. I'm going to go with that. But who knows? But the fact that Darth Maul is probably going to be the bigger villain in Solo 2 if they decide to make it, it'll be interesting to see what's going on.
Oh, I know what we want to talk about next.
We're still talking about the characters.
Yes. Childish Gambino. We need to talk about Childish Gambino.
Why do we need to talk about him?
Because he's awesome. In the movie, when they're having like the robot rebellion and all the Wookiees and the slaves are like running around and the ship is getting shot at and they're trying to like transport this, like, what was it that it was like
hyperfuel.
Because
I remember at the beginning of the movie,
hyperfuel, but they called it like a special name, and I want to be like kryptonite, but I know that's not right. But anyway, so when they're like getting all shot at and everything, and he runs out to like save the robot L2 or L3, and he gets shot in the shoulder. I was like, this is America. I just couldn't like help but think that, and I don't know.
Well, speaking of
he's so funny.
Childish Gambino's character, he played Lando. I didn't like his character. His character was I don't know if I could say the word.
What are you saying?
He's a jerk. Like, his character was like not very good person, which is fine. I don't remember the Lando from the original Star Wars trilogy, so I don't know how his character is supposed to end up like. I feel like maybe he did play him really well. My fault. I have to go back and rewatch him to see. But he played his character pretty well. His performance was good. It was fun. I love to hate him because he was like a douche. He was like a douchebag. He was only looking out for himself, which is funny. And that part where he's like, Han Solo's like, yeah, I got like 30 trained assassins in that ship right over there. And then it takes off. I'm like, man, that is hilarious. And he was like, never mind.
I thought it was pretty amusing. Like, actually, like, I thought that his character was... I thought it was really entertaining. Like, he's like that guy that... And he's a jerk, but it's like you love him. There's some kind of, like, there's a lovable quality about him that... He's sarcastic and he's witty and but he's not, and he wears capes. He's not like a bad dude. He's just like, you know, he is self-centered.
He's part of that same world that
you know, he's trying to survive just like everybody else.
Everybody's in that dark world, and Han is that little bit of light. that helps everybody to do the good thing, the right thing.
I think the funniest moment between Han and Lando was when they're standing and like they finally arrive like on this beach area where they're dropping off to like they're gonna process the oil or whatever, the hyperfuel.
Yeah, and they're looking at the ship.
And
they're just
it looks like crap. It's trashed, right? I mean, they basically put it through the gutter. It's got no landing gear. It looks like a piece of crap.
And then Han's like to Lando. And Lando just looks at him and he's like, I hate you. I hate you. He's like,
I called it though. I was like, he totally hates him right now.
And he said it, and it was funny. It was hilarious because at that moment he's like, you just destroyed my favorite ship, my best ship.
Just like, I hate you so much right now.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Their
and
interaction
also,
was
like,
funny.
We need to give some kudos like Donald Glover. He is fabulous in everything that he's in, everything that he does.
You can't say that till you've seen all his movies, and I don't think you've seen everything.
But just the work that I've seen, we've seen him in Community, we've listened to his music, we've seen his new music video, and we'll see him in different like appearances, and this is one of those things. Everything that he's in, he does a wonderful job, and he just brings like so much. He just brings so much to a character.
He
does a great job.
So yeah, all the characters in there, even the new ones that they introduced, the whole band of Beckett's whole team before they all basically get killed off. That was really good to see. That was fun. The little alien with 4 arms, forgot his name, but he was very cool. I liked him. He was funny, comedic. He was.
I was
just so laid
sad
back.
when he died, and I feel like when he died in like in the craft, in the ship when they were trying to do like this haul. Before he died, he said, nobody wants to die alone. And I feel like they kind of tied that in with at the very end when Beckett died, even though he was Han's enemy and he was going to kill Hans.
Yeah.
After he shot him, he went over to him and, was like, hey,
Because this might have been Han's first like real father figure, like somebody who was looking out for him, and unfortunately in the circumstances.
But he was there.
Yeah,
he was there as he died, and I thought that was really like, not like, I don't know. I almost want to say like, almost like it had to be this way, but I forgive you.
Yeah.
Because he was ready to kill him. This guy doesn't think about stuff like that.
It was no interesting.
Regrets.
Also, Beckett I didn't see any like too much emotional distress when his whole crew got taken out and he's with these 2 new dudes. So I guess he's used to from like leaping from one thing to another, saving his own skin. And even that lifestyle, it's not good. And I guess it showed Han like, hey, this is I want to be as good as these guys, but also it's not the life I want to fully live. Like, you got to have somebody watching your back if you want to survive.
Well, I also feel like, and maybe Steven's gonna say this is too deep for me to bring up, but when you live your life and killing is like no big deal, it's just you're just a casualty of like the bottom line or the end goal or something. I feel like it kills your soul on the inside like a little bit every time. It's like when you do something wrong, every time that you do it, you feel more comfortable with it. Like, like if when you were a kid and you told a lie, the first time you feel really bad, but then after like, you're just a routine liar, it's like, it's nothing. And I feel like it's like that when you live in a culture of death, that after you've participated in so many evil acts and you've seen something so many times, it almost like desensitizes you.
Deep. Stop it.
But you can see that with Hans, he, that was something that he really wasn't willing to stoop to unless he absolutely had to, because he wasn't okay with that.
Han has a heart. This movie proves it. Even in the Star Wars movie, though, I remember the first one. Is it A New Hope? I hope that's right, or else y'all are gonna get mad at me. But when Luke is like, we have to take out the Death Star, and are you gonna be with us or not? He's like, nah, man, I'm hightailing it out of here. Y'all don't have a chance. But in Luke's moment of need, who comes in? The Millennium Falcon with Han Solo and Chewbacca. They always decide to do the right thing because they know doing the right thing isn't always the easiest, and that's where he was.
Yeah.
So anyway, with those characters, this movie was filled with so much awesome props and costumes. One of my favorites was the what was the girl's names? Inference. It was the space pirates that tried to nab the cargo from there.
Mm-hmm.
That was a huge surprise for me when she took off her helmet, and it was like this young teenage girl, and their backstory was that they were fighting the crime syndicates because they were awful people too. It was like, man, it was so awesome.
Well, the whole movie we had thought that they were pirates.
Yeah, they were just
they're just
evil.
here to nab what you've got and resell it. Like, they're gonna make a profit out from under you off of your operation. And then she takes off her helmet, and it's this girl, and she's beautiful. And it just wasn't. I wasn't expecting it either.
I wasn't either. I was expecting some
I was like, whoa, okay,
bounty hunter type people.
Well, let's see what the deal is.
But turns out they had a noble cause too for stealing, and it's one of those things that these crimes pushing in, these bad guys pushing into their world, caused them to turn to a life of crime. So it's like a domino effect. But it was awesome to see that her costume was just amazing. That suit of armor with all that thing. It reminded me a lot of the video game Destiny, with all the stuff and them slamming down and the type of weapons they had. It was really, really cool, and it excited me. I kind of want to build that for cosplay. It was just awesome looking. And also in that band of space pirates, they had R2-D2. Yay! The original person who played R2-D2 was that little dude. I'm thinking that's who it was. I'm hoping I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong, but I was like, hey, that's R2-D2 because I remember him. So I hope I'm right. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments below. Thanks, guys. So, yeah, the movie was real fun. It was real exciting. So many moments in that movie where you're like, oh, what's going to happen next? It was just exciting. They had a few moments where it slowed down, but that was to further the story. But it was funny. It was exciting. It's worth a watch.
Can we talk about L3?
L3? Yeah, so one of the things that all the Star Wars movies have been doing really well is like with the Rogue One, what was that one it was the Empire's old robot, had attitude. We loved it. He had character. This new robot, this new android, L3, had character as well, and it was so funny.
Oh yeah, when she's talking about how she thinks that like Lando's in love with her. I thought I was crying laughing.
But hey, there was some truth in it. It was.
And Kira sat there with a straight face, and she's like, "Okay,
She wanted to laugh, but realized the robot was serious, and it was like, oh. So it's funny that I love that they're adding a little bit more to the androids. The androids, because I remember playing not the Revenge of the Sith. It was one of the Star Wars games where they give you Knights of the Old Republic. They give you the option to wipe the android's memory in one of the things, but you can choose not to do that, and they retain their memory. So, and I guess in the Star Wars world, these robots are constantly learning to the point to where they're pretty much start making their own decisions. And most of the good guys always allow their robots to have free will and free thought, and I guess that's one of the things of being a good guy, is allowing others to be free-minded.
Yeah. Okay, so I have a couple of thoughts. So my favorite part was when L3 decided to like liberate all the robots. She had like this little tool, and she, basically took the blinders off, like their restraints, so that the robot could like move around and stuff.
It was funny though, because that wasn't her main purpose. Her main purpose was like, okay, you're in my way, I need you to get out of my way. Oh, you can't move because you have these little chips in you. Bam, move the chip. And then the robot was like, what am I supposed to do now? She was like, go start a revolution, free your brothers. No, she was like, go free your brethren. And sisters. Yeah. And the little robot was like, okay. He just runs over there. So that whole entire time is hilarious because she started that whole domino effect.
And then just chaos ensues, because then it's like the robots start freeing all the slaves. They free all the Wookiees. It was awesome. I was like, yeah.
And then she realized what happened, and she's like, yes, I'm so glad we took this mission. And
like she made it was like her goal to do that. It was like the last thing that L3 got to do you know, obviously they downloaded her navigational system.
Now she's a part of the
And
Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
Forever.
But that was the last thing that she did, and it was worth it to her. Like, she was in the line of fire. The other thing that we thought was really interesting was how Lando went out and he was, you know, willing to save her. He ran out into the fire and he was crying. He was so upset and attached. He was like, come on, don't die. Stay with me, you know, that kind of thing. While, you know, she's like starting to shut down. And we thought that was really amazing because we were like, oh, you know, just the bond between the robot and the person. You know, he didn't really love her.
It was sad, but it was entertaining. The whole entire movie was entertaining. And that the Millennium Falcon got beat up. And one of the things that I noticed is when the Millennium Falcon first got shown, it had the escape pod in there. And
they fed it to the monster.
Yeah, they fed it to the monster, but it had that, the Millennium Falcon had that sleek look to it with it. And they got rid of the safety pod, and I guess they never thought of replacing it because it's not there anymore throughout all the new movies. And what I laughed so hard about was as it was flying through space, it always seems that one of their antennas always gets broken off. No matter what, it breaks off. And I found that so funny. And that moment, there was that one moment where they used the fuel from the hyperfuel to put into their engine to get out of that dangerous situation. And we all thought they were just gonna gun it out of there, but no, it just shuts down.
They delayed us like 3 seconds.
I laughed so hard. Felicia freaked out. I laughed.
What the crap?
She was on the edge of her seat that entire time.
I was like, freaking out.
Why are you not going yet? Get out of there. And I laughed. As soon as
it was
shut
like
down.
On a delay, so like 3 seconds. So then they're like, any second now.
No, they're all freaking out because they thought they were going to die.
And then it went, whoop! And I was like, hallelujah.
I was like, phew. But I knew they were going to die. I mean, it's Han and Chewie. They don't die. We see him in the future. We know when he dies.
But like, it's still really like just really anxiety inducing. It's like if you were in a really bad situation and like I don't know, like your mom or something went back and watched like this very bad situation, and even though that it's like in the past and she knows you're fine now, your mom's still gonna freak out.
But you're not Han's mom.
No.
Stop it.
I'm not trying to make like a motherly comparison. I'm just saying like somebody that you're very invested in their life. You're invested. You want to know that everything works out, and you know, I don't know.
It was exciting. So the fact that movie delivered moments like that and got somebody excited, I always think is a win. When people are taken out of their own life and suspended, the suspension of belief. If that is achieved by a movie, I think it is a great movie worth watching.
It was suspense after suspense after suspense. It just kept coming. This movie doesn't stop. Like, you guys, if you haven't already seen it, or you have friends who haven't seen it, you need to go see it.
Go watch it. Definitely at the movie theater. This is a movie you don't want to wait for Redbox. Watch it in theaters. Be a part of it.
You can have it up close. Big screen.
2 thumbs up for me.
2 thumbs up for me.
Cool. So we both enjoyed the movie. So that was our review of the movie Solo, a Star Wars story. Thank you guys for watching. Any movies you think we should watch or anything we should review, throw links down or throw comments down below. Thank you very much, guys. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.